What's going on, everybody? LK here. So today I want to bring something new into fighting game content once again, because that's my job. So with tier lists, ranking characters in fighting games, I decided to stop using a letter system and instead be more specific about quantifying what is important to me in a fighting game character in the list itself, right? I think it's easier to express things that way. And there's one thing that a lot of people, so both of course content creators, but then people in the community in general like to do, and they'll create a character ease of use tier list. I've done this a lot, like the homie Kizzy has done this a lot, Baiken has done this a lot of people have done this. It's kind of hard to like show this to someone because there's a lot of angles that you can use, and tier lists are kind of like one-dimensional. So last time I made one for Strive, maybe like 4 or 5 months ago or something, I was like, oh, but actually there's like this angle, like someone who's never played fighting games before, and then there's this angle of someone who has played like other fighting games, and there's this one about tournaments specifically. And while thinking about that later, I forgot one thing I used to do. Instead of using like tier maker, well, in my case, I don't use tier maker. I use a fighting game website called toptier.gg. Shoutouts to those guys. That's what I use for all my tier lists. We used to use a website called Cafe, the Madman's Cafe. You could set up a quadrant. So the interesting thing about using the quadrants is that you could have like different aspects and rate characters from like more angles, basically. The first time I did this, people were not very happy about how I did this, but you know me, I cannot cap. I have to say what's in my heart. So this is a while ago, but it's in Blaze Blue, Chrono Phantasma. I made an ease of winning list, which was kind of the same idea. Super ahead of its time, honestly, but what else would you expect from me, right? So the angles would be easy to learn, hard to learn, easy to win with. I said takes effort for the sake of space, but it would be hard to win with. Well, it's not central fiction. There are not as many characters in this game as BBCF, but you have characters like Ragnar the Blood Edge, Jin Kisaragi, Noelle, Iron Tiger, Bang Shishigami, Makoto, Bullet, Kagura, Terumi, Tsubaki Platinum. All pretty easy to learn, but not that easy to win with. Then characters like Kokonoe, which she was broken when she came out. There's plenty of videos on how ridiculous Kokonoe was when she came out. Hazama, Mew 12, Hakumen, Azrael, as varying degrees of easy to learn and varying degrees of easy to win with. Relius here as just kind of like a middling, like he's kind of easy to learn, he's kind of easy to win with. Then there's characters down here. So you have two of my mains, my longtime main Lychee in this game, and Valkenhayn, Taokaka, and Rachel as kind of hard to learn but easy to win with. Then Carl right here as hard to learn, leaning towards easier to win with. Arcuna here as hard to learn, takes a little effort to win with. And then these three characters here, New 13, Amane, and Izuyoi. This is before Izuyoi started like really popping off. She was kind of weak when she came out actually, but as characters that are difficult-ish, different degrees of difficult-ish to learn, but hard to win with. The way you can think of it is like it's like a skill floor. Like how hard is it to access the character's game plan and be able to actually play the game, right? So if your character is easy to learn, one thing that I found in that game was like, oh, if you learn like Jin, you can play like 4 characters, no problem. But then it's like, how do you actually win games with them? Like, do you have to like interact with the opponent a lot? Do you have to do like strike throw stuff? Do you need to be really precise and neutral? Or something about the characters in the bottom left here, while they are hard to learn how to play, once you actually like get their stuff down, you maul people. Like they all have really good mix-ups. You have insane neutral, insane pressure. Maybe the defense is not great on them, but like their overall game plan is really strong. So again, I kind of want to bring that back. I kind of want to do that maybe from now on for ease of use tier lists. So Strive has 25 characters right now, so let's go through one by one, right? So first, let's make the list. All right, so this is my first time back doing this. It's been a while. It's a little messy, Cafe. If you're watching this, maybe I'll tweet at them. Please put Guilty Gear on your website so I have more space to do this. So again, the 4 quadrants are easy to learn, easy to win with, easy to learn, hard to win with, hard to learn, easy to win with, hard to learn, hard to win with. So one thing about this game, and I would probably say this about modern fighting games in general, there's probably not many characters that are hard to learn and hard to win with. So what do I mean? Basically, like, so I mean, the hard to learn part would be easy to explain. It's just like they have a lot of like stuff or like technical things, or maybe like hard combos, hard situations, hard to use tools or whatever. A lot of situational things. Hard to win with to me means that your win condition is hard to access or is just like really not that threatening. One thing about this game is that basically everyone's win condition, so like a reliable plan that you have to like win the game with a character, is pretty easy to access, I want to say, and clearly defined. So if a character is hard to win with, it usually just comes from, like, if you take Potemkin, it's interesting in that his win con is pretty clear, but he doesn't access it very easily. It's probably like the main difficulty of him. Like, you gotta corner people, or you need to have meter. These both for him require extra steps to get to, compared to a character like Nago, who can win the game from round start, or like HC, who can win the game from round start, or like Chip is another character who could just win the game from round start. Speaking of Chip, I'm trolling. Small update on Chip. Small update on Chip. So I'm going to go by quadrant then. So since we're already talking about Potemkin, let's start with the easy to learn but hard to win with characters. So Faust, another one. The way he plays in this game is pretty straightforward. He has big buttons for space control, and then he has no limit on throwing items. So your goal is to kind of just like throw items, get like some good combination or comfortable combination, and use that in order to like overwhelm your opponent. But he has a few flaws in this game plan. And one, a lot of his big best pokes are all like really disadvantageous, so they're all weak against like dash blocking and things like that. Two, item throw takes a long time, so people can like hit him out of it, so he has to either just take a big risk or do it from a truly safe spot. There's not a lot of true safe opportunities to do it from. And also it's RNG, so even though he could use all the items positively for him, there are times where he has to like reposition himself. Trumpet's like the main one, where he has to like reposition himself in order to stay safe. So there's a lot of variability that comes in playing him, so it's hard to be like consistent with him. But out of these, I think like Testament, Axel are like two really clear, like these characters are super easy to learn. Axel has really big like disjointed buttons and pokes, and Testament is like this mid-range zoner, so they play from like the middle of the screen and further. In Testament's case, your goal is to get them stained and then use that to do offense, but a lot of Testament stuff doesn't lead into scary situations. So Testament has a really narrow game plan in the end of like, you play neutral against them, you pin them down, you build resource, and you try to mix them up using that, but not everything leads into like super high damage combos all the time. So there are rounds where it's kind of like the Milliia problem, where Testament has to hit you like 4 or 5 times to win the round, where another character has to hit you like twice. Axel is similar-ish. It kind of would be crazy. He'd be pretty broken if he just killed you 2 hits. But while he's just super good at controlling space, both of them are weak to dash block, by the way, and like tactics like that. And a lot of the successful Axel pokes don't lead into like really rewarding situations. And he's not super good at mixing you up. He's good at like shimmying you now. I think he's better at building resource than before. And in the matchups where he's really good, you'll play them with your eyes closed. But in like more challenging matchups, like against fast characters, for example, it could definitely be pretty frustrating. But on the bottom half, you have hard to learn and hard to win with. So I was kind of interested in trying out Bedman this version, and I was watching like Bedman replays, and I was watching. I was like, dude, I can't tell. Where do I even start with this character? Like, where do I start with this character? What am I supposed to do? I think the goal with Bedman is pretty straightforward, but it's surprising. Like, Asuka's right there. When Asuka came out, there's a lot of YouTube videos. If you just like Guilty Gear Strive Asuka, you see a bunch of videos like, this is the hardest character ever. I've never seen a character that's so complex before. But it's funny, maybe because I played 9, that I looked at him and I was like, he's not like that hard, like that out of control, where like, Bedman is such a unique character, even though, and this, by the way, could just come from not playing him. I researched the character. I know like one of the goals is to go for guard crush loops and stuff like that. I don't know if it's because the character is not that developed, or there's just like not a lot of people that talk about him, so I don't really know what's up about the character himself, independently of how to fight the character, you know what I mean? But out of all the characters in the game, he's probably like the hardest one to just straight up hop into, I feel like. Plus his game plan is not really clear, besides like obviously if you play him, you know what to do. But outside of going for like his guard crush stuff and try to do mix-ups off that in the corner, I think Asuka's big thing in comparison is that he just has a ton of situational stuff and requires a lot of structure. It's really hard to practice him without playing, which might sound funny. Some of y'all might be like, duh, you have to play the game against people to practice, but him specifically, it's really, really hard to build situations. He's kind of like Faust in that way, where he has a lot of variability around RNG up to a point, but he can control his future. You know, he's got like the bookmark super and things like that to get the repeated situation that he wants. It's kind of the same for all these characters in the middle-ish. Like, it's not so, they all have like some different aspect to them. So like Baiken is really easy to learn. It's my current main, right? Very, very easy to learn. You can learn her in like a couple of days, like just what buttons you press, basic combos. I mean, even a couple big combos, to be honest. But and she has a pretty clear win condition, in my opinion. You know, like you knock them down, you mix them, you route the way you want to win, and then like that's it. So and this is an ease of use tier list, so I find her like when I picked her up, it only took like a week or so for me to be able to get into using her like in matches. Gold Lewis similarly, there's the meme that he has the hardest inputs in the game, but his core tools, like basically anyone who plays the game can tell you, like you use JD a bunch, use Far Slash a bunch, these are the important half circles, here's a couple of easy combos, and you could just hop in. And then that's something they kind of have in common, Baiken and Gold Lewis. As you, the player, improve, you can push and push and push and push the character. So then there's Milliia. So Milliia, when you're starting the game, she can like really carry you. When I started in this game, I was like, yeah, she's really carrying me, because I had to like develop the character, right? So it's like, okay, a lot of the things that we consider just like common Milliia 101, like when the game came out, people didn't really know like how to build her stuff out really. So there's some stuff you have to memorize just to be able to play her, like the difference between setups, like what you pick against what and things like that. But once you get that, it's kind of when you hit them, you just go. Many of the characters in this game, but also if you saw my other chart, I had a big chunk of easy to learn but hard to win with characters. So the funny thing is there's some crossover, you know, like mid dispensers have gotten way, way, way better since those days. Like BlazBlue CP, BlazBlue CF, they've gotten way, 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 way better, safer. There's like less super broken archetypes that like hang over from like those days, damage, conversion ability, all these things. So all these characters that are here, I did totally think, like, it's not like it's in order, like, oh, Leo is the second easiest to learn and second easiest to win. It's not really like that. The main thing that I'm thinking is that these characters are all pretty easy to learn, and they have very, very clear game plans that you could just like win with relative ease at the start. Even in case of a character like Bridget, who's like kind of setup oriented, it's a little bit more linear than like Millia's style of setups. Plus the neutral control, big buttons and all that. So I'd say that for like Nago, Leo, Sol, Kyle, Ram, Mei, Geo, Anji, all these characters are relatively, you know, you have your strike throw, you have your plus buttons, you have different ways of greatly discouraging people from not picking what you don't want them to pick, and then once you get 50 meter, you become just really, really strong to really stack your offense against them. Like I mentioned before, the boxes are kind of small, so I mean, I do think of Sin this way and Chip kind of this way too. It's just that there's just not enough space. I wanted to like have Sin like higher up, just not enough space really. But Johnny, I don't think he's like the easiest character to learn because he's not mobile. I think it's really that he's not mobile, so you do need some sense of being able to control space, using your options really wisely, because he can't dash block, so you have to be more careful with your forward movement. You're doing a lot more walking and you're a bit more precise with him. But his win con is pretty straightforward. Like, you have guard crushes, you have unseeable overheads and lows and throws. So once you get them in a situation you want, especially like back to the wall break with Wild Assault, I think he's like a really straightforward character. So now for the bottom left quadrant, we're talking about hard to learn but easy to win with. So this is what I mentioned before of these are characters that they have a pretty high skill floor, but once you learn their thing, you're just going. Again, Milliia was kind of like, I mentioned Milliia. Ino is kind of similar to Milliia, except she doesn't move in a linear way. Honestly, I'm a little biased against Ino, because I'm in my head, Ino, I'm just like, these motherfuckers are just slamming buttons. But learning how to play neutral with her is really weird. You can't dash block in a normal way. You don't cover angles normally. She just does things differently compared to other characters until she gets in. Once she gets in, you're mixing. Zato, Jacko, and Happy Chaos. So these characters are pretty unique. In Zato's case, you got to control Eddie. In Jacko's case, you're playing with the minions, both hitting and tossing and doing special moves with the minions. And in Happy Chaos's case, you're managing his focus meter. So since these are resource characters, you have to learn how to use their mechanic, but then also make choices based off the resource. Just takes kind of a while to do and has different degrees of difficulty. But it's like once you clear this, you're chilling. Like you're kind of just you go in autopilot. Autopilot, good. You know, I know a lot of people like to use autopilot as a negative term, but I don't think it's a negative term in all cases. Like, being able to autopilot means you're making decisions really quickly. You're not sitting there and hesitating about things. And it's really important with those type of characters because you're managing a unique thing at the same time. But yeah, let me know what you think. I do want to bring this back. I don't think I did this in Exerd, but we weren't really talking about ease of use straight up in Exerd. I think we just talked about like win conditions and like what's scary and things like that. So I kind of want to bring this back to have like a different angle on this. Let me know what you guys think though. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.